And we are live. Let me have a look at how is the sound now coming. Always a sound check. That's how we start. And look, today was actually an interesting one. I tried to connect Zoom to YouTube, but didn't work. I don't know. Last minute, I was like, now is not the time to play around. But let me just have a look and see what we have prepared for today. Today, going to be really amazing session because see the thing is, let me check this out now. And we are live. Yes. Okay. Everything is connected. If you see me looking there, I have another screen. And today we're going to be powerful session because especially for guys, there's three things, the most important things that we struggle or we go through. And there is three desired outcomes. And I actually wanted to go from a place where we are to place where we want to go and build that momentum and community so we guys can come together and answer those most important questions, especially that's connected to finances, that's connected to our life satisfaction, how happy we are with what we do, and then how that translates into relationships. And I don't want to talk from should, you should, I should, we should, but I actually want to talk from experience because see the thing is, if we only talk about what should be done, it never anything gets done. But if I can say this is what has worked for me, why not you can try this as well, then it's completely different story. So let me just share the screen again. I'm doing this once a month, not very professional in all the setup, but look, we're getting there. You're getting there. Okay, so this is the topic. So stop letting financial anxiety and soul crushing job slowly destroying your relationships and your self-esteem. Look, I have been there myself. I'm talking from my own experience. And so here there are, let me just maybe take this keyboard here. Here are a few points that I wanted to touch. So, okay, these are the three main stressors in men's lives and how to change these. Okay, we are not just here to talk about it, but we're actually here to have solutions. Okay, so I'm gonna show the video. In this video, I'm not sure if there are gonna be sound. Probably they're not gonna be sound, but I'm gonna explain this to you. Okay, so first let's go. Let me just because it's the fastest hand, and he says he's gonna do three jabs, and he don't need to let him to hit his hand. Okay, and look at the speed of the first two. Okay, one and two. Okay, here's the third one. He punched. Okay, so what was the actually happening here in this video? Okay, because the punches we couldn't avoid was the slow punch, the slowly approaching one, the one that destroyed the relationships and self-worth. Okay, so can you relate that in your life? And I can say from my own experience, like I was thinking the life is going amazing, things is moving forward, but my weight slowly gained bad weight. My finances wasn't happening, and I was losing actually the finances that I had, and that's the same happened with my relationships. But it didn't happen in one go because when something approaches you very fast, it's still a punch, it still can knock you down. But guess what happens is now you're more alive and you're more actively looking to avoid it. But when it slowly creeps up on you, and it maybe happens throughout year or 2 years or 3 years or so, some kind of a pains, some kind of a problems that is unresolved in relationships, maybe in our own lives, that leads us to medicate ourselves and that leads us actually to this life where we are not satisfied, with what we do, or maybe the relationship status that we have, or whether we are single or maybe in relationship where we constantly have to argue and basically drain each other. Okay, and that's what we want to avoid. So now today, this what we're going to be discussed is actually the opposite, how to get from where we are and where we don't want to be to where we want to go. And so I'm talking from my own personal experience. And so here, look, so the only thing standing in your way is actually you, it's not them. It's not your girlfriend, it's not your mom, it's not your nan, it is you. It all starts with you. Okay, so here I can, when I decided that I have to do something about it, I realized I cannot blame anyone anymore. So then I started to do this self development and the personal growth, because when you grow, you have more to give, and I encourage everyone to grow. And this is Russell Brunson, and then what he says is, the bigger your dreams, yeah, the more resistance you will feel, and that's natural. And so if you now feel some resistance, or maybe you had some situations where you feel the resistance, maybe you know what you need to do but you are not doing it. Now that's okay, that's great, because now you at least have something where to go. Because if all that we do, we just live easy, 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 then it comes 20 years later, and maybe we are not in the shape that we want, we are not in the relationships that we want, but we were just living easy, avoided the hard conversations, avoided to do the exercise and the work that we needed to do. And so it didn't help our finances, it didn't help our health, and it didn't help our relationships. So definitely that's not the case, because see, the thing is, with resistance the muscle grows. With the resistance we learn, and so we don't have to try to avoid resistance, but we actually have to embrace. And if there is a resistance, then maybe that's actually something where we have to address, that's maybe something where we have to look at. And like, one of my friends, he said, look, I was thinking, look, I want to stop drinking alcohol. And he said, well, if you think it's a problem, then probably it is a problem. So I stopped drinking alcohol, maybe, was it like half year or so. Then I had some wine and some champagne on my wedding, and then again I didn't drink for a while, and then I think on a honeymoon I had some drinks, but now no longer any weekend. Before I was just literally drinking every no every weekend, sorry, every day. Yeah, but think about that, how I was waking up in the mornings, how much power, how much strength I had in the mornings. I was completely exhausted. And I'm not saying that that's the problem for all, but I'm saying like that was my thing, where I was thinking, you know what, I wake up in the mornings, I'm not feeling fresh, I don't have the energy. Yes, I am going ahead in life, but you know what, it could be done better. And now I was thinking where I can get more energy. Okay, and then I was doing all these coaching programs and learning and growing myself and improving my physical health, my mental health, and also I started to see the transformation happening around me. Okay, and that's why we are here. Okay, so the number one is financial stress and instability is what actually is killing so many men. Okay, so men's self-worth and confidence often comes from finances and the ability to provide and to protect. Yeah, and so, well, but there is downsides. Not an extreme story. Stop sharing. But there's downsides. I almost stopped the stream. But there's downsides to it. Okay, when a man's self-worth coming from the finances, if something doesn't happen, and if, for example, there is this 2008 and economical crisis, or like in COVID, that's when my relationship break. Because look, how did I feel? Like, did I felt very confident or no? Okay, because when a man's finances are affected, often his confidence goes along with it, and that's the downside. So that's why building the confidence only on the finances is not a very strong foundation, and we have to find alternatives where to build our confidence. And then, you know, I understand we as men, we have to provide, and first of all, we have to give that sense of certainty, and that comes from how much we earn and how much we can afford and how much we can provide for the loved ones and those who are dear to us. And especially, you know, there is an expectation. There's more expectations from guys to provide, and although people say, look, we are all equal and we need to split the bills and everything, but if you keep trying splitting the bills, guess what? Sooner or later, people will just gonna be behind your back complaining and saying, "Look, that guy is not stepping up." So it's an invitation for you to step up without anyone telling you that you were gonna be giving this opportunity. And you can say, "Look, don't worry about that. I'm gonna take care of it." And of course, now when I'm married and I'm in in a marriage, it's not that I provide for everything. Well, there is shared responsibilities, but there's moments in life where you just have to stand up and have to say, look, I cannot provide for everything, but I can provide for this. And that's okay. That's fine. And Don't worry about that, I'm going to take care of it. And that gives certainty, that gives confidence, and that is what attracts people. And that's what actually, when guys don't have the finances, then they feel that it's affecting them a lot. Okay. And so the next one, I wanted to show actually how it looks like. So just think about the person on the left hand side. So here, now how he will going to show up in relationships, and now how much stability he'll going to be able to provide. And so these are just AI created images, but think about it on the person on the right hand side, on the other side, this person. And so I'm not saying that the holidays or the coffee or MacBook or the money is the solution to it, but just an illustration of like, how do you think, how much certainty and how much um, excitement he can bring in this relationship, rather than compared to the first person. And there's no judgment, we all have struggled, we all have started somewhere, and that's fine. But what's not fine is to stay there. So what we have to acknowledge is, this is where I am, and this is where is the struggle, and I actually want to move. So basically, that's the place where we are, and that's where we want to go. Yeah. And then here, the second is job dissatisfaction. So men often bring home troubles and stress, and everything that happens at work. Okay, and so they think that they're gonna come at home and they're gonna have the relief and they're gonna have the support and they're gonna have pity. And pity means like someone who just gonna be feeling sorry for you and maybe supporting emotionally. Okay, but guess what that does? That creates uncertainty and doubt at home, and that doesn't solve the problem. And now just think about this. If there's two people now worried instead of one, does that solve problem? And no. Okay. So if all that was there, it was just now creating more uncertainty by sharing it, it didn't solve. So what we need to do, we need to go out there and we need to find a solution. That's why especially it's important to speak to other guys, to have these men groups where we can talk about things. Look, this is not happening, and but how did you came across this? How did you overcame these financial challenges or relationship challenges? And that's why I said, instead of talking about should, what you should do or I should do or someone else should be doing, we cannot affect what other people do, but we can say this is what I will do, and that is the only way how you can change something. Okay. So without creating this uncertainty, we need to have these men's groups where we can openly talk about these things, because um, victories is not by a one person. But again, if we are approaching the wrong person, so for example we come home and we give this stress and these worries and whatever we are facing throughout the day we bring home, then the kid's life is not getting better, the wife's life is not getting better, but we yet need to have that support. And that means we need to get that somewhere, but then we need to get that somewhere from someone who can actually provide us the guidance. And maybe that's your father, and maybe that's the mentor, maybe that's some kind of a coaching, or maybe a book, and maybe that's the men's groups. And I'm not saying where, but you need to find some expert in the field. Otherwise it is just complaining. Talking about the problems without solution is just complaining. And what you need to find someone who's going to help you explain, show the way, and that's how you're going to move out of it. Yeah. So let me just share the next one. Okay, and so here again, illustration. So just if we think about that, the person on the left hand side, so you can actually relate to it, and I can relate to it myself. I was running a business and going through challenges, and at that moment in that state, guess what this person's bringing home? Like what type of relationships they have, if he's staying up maybe till 4 o'clock at night at work. What happens to relationships? Okay, what happens when he's tired? What happens to the enthusiasm that he brings at home, and how much energy he has to play with kids? Okay, and then let's think about the other side. Okay, whether working for someone, being the CEO or running your own business, um, whatever is your path. But when you are excited about what you do, because see, the thing is, when you do the thing where you see the results, it doesn't drain you. What's draining you is doing where you don't see the results, or where you don't want to have any results. So that's the job, is dissatisfaction. And so when we carry that along, we then spread this around, and then is what we attract. Because if we are all tired and all negative, then all the opportunities we're gonna go just past. Because see, the thing is, when an opportunity comes, we have to be ready to take it. But if we are exhausted, it's not gonna happen. Yeah. So, and then the third one, the challenges that the guys have is relationship breakdowns. And like in my life, that's actually where I started to do some work on myself, because I was like thinking, why the relationships is not working. So but talking from my own experience, so when I was putting a lot of when I was putting like kind of the girls, the woman's needs higher than my own, then it was actually because I lacked self-confidence, self-worth. And that's the thing, when a man puts a woman above themselves, they don't have a strong internal self sense of value. And then they want to have the validation, and then they come across needy. And so from this place, they don't show up as the man in the relationship that she can look up to. Because you know let me give you an example. So a girl wants to find the best, the strongest, the most successful man, and that's how it is. And the guys want to find the most attractive, the most nurturing, and most loving person. So there's different characteristics that we are looking in each other, and there's always exceptions, but I'm saying in general. Okay. And so men are actually, how to say, evaluated by how much security they bring, by the way they talk, the way they speak. Okay. And if you are coming back home needy and stressful, and if you always seek for the validation, remember, we're not coming from a place of confidence, we're coming from a place of lack of confidence. And then the person needs to give us the confidence, but then who holds the power? And if always we are needy, that means we are always demanding. And when we keep demanding, then it just demolishes the value of what you can bring to it, because there's nothing to bring. And so the only way is to grow, because when you grow, then you have more to give. And that means you have to now look at the areas where things are not working, and be honest and reflect on yourself and say, look, this is where I want to improve. Because alternative to this is, if I can share the screen, is that this is one of the most common causes in relationship breakdowns and loss of attraction. And that is the alternative. If we keep going through this pattern, and that's okay when sometimes we need that support. But if that's the place where we live, then that's the results we get. And then in the context of men's work and psychology, this is often referred as the pedestalizing or nice guy syndrome. And there is actually an amazing book. So if you look at this book, this book is great. It gave me a lot of good insights, and I see myself where I'm struggling, where I have to improve, and actually where I have to set some healthy boundaries. And so it's a proven plan for getting what you want in love, sex, and in life. And that's true. That's true. This book is tons of value. So if you want more in life, then you definitely have to read this as a man. And actually, this book encourages to read it together with your wife or your partner, because see, the thing is, it's not to create a division, but it's actually understanding your role, and we play each different roles. Okay, and so here's some interesting facts. So 70% of divorces are initiated by women, but if a woman breaks up with a man, it is still the man to be blamed. And if the man breaks up with a woman, it is still the man to be blamed. So in either case, you are to be blamed. And so if you want to be liked, and all that you want to be appreciated and liked by everyone, you will still you're just going to be trying to prove yourself to everyone. And I've been in that place where I just tried to prove myself, and I tried to be liked by other people. But men's position is actually knowing what's right and doing what's right regardless of what other people do. And so here, let's look at the two examples. So why do I say this? Yeah, why do I say, if a woman breaks up with a man, is the man is to blame? Because when a woman has broken up with a man, she has done it from a place of some needs hasn't been met. Because look, if everything that she needs is there, why would she leave? And yes, the man can say, well, I was loving her, I was providing for her, I was working hard. And like I showed the example before, the guy who was exhausted and running crazy hours, and that's me. I was working 7 days a week, and that affected my relationships badly. Eventually went to crash. But you see, we want to learn from my mistakes, and we want to learn from each other, and that's why it's very important when men are actually sharing it, not as a not as a complaint, but as a productive way of like identifying the problems and then giving the solutions. Okay, so here, if a man is actually full of life, full of excitement, full of motivation and drive, even his finances not perfect, now he can bring something and he can fill the cup, because I'm gonna talk about the six human needs. Okay, and then there's always two sides. There's always two sides, but look, there's always, if we have to compare, then we'll always blame the man. That's just how the society is. Because look, there is always this bad shadow that's coming on the man, because we have more responsibilities, and more responsibilities means we have to take care of ourselves, and then we have to take care of those people who are dependent on us. Okay, and with more responsibility comes also more opportunities to fail. Okay, and of course, if then a man leaves the relationship or breaks up, then of course he's to blame, because he has left the girl by herself, and now he is actually the bad sheep. But although 70% of the relationships is initiated by women, and you see that is just because of the lack of some of the needs that's not met. And let me share the screen with you. And so here, so just think about these two pictures. And so I have been on the left hand side. I have been there, and that's where actually I have made the biggest decision to do something about it. And then now, if you look on the right hand side, this is where we actually want to go. And so sometimes we just have to have the contrast between where we are and where we want to go, so we could then start to make the difference. And let me show. Okay. And so the problem usually is when we have this mindset of, when they were going to do something, then I will going to do, and you fill the gaps. When she will gonna, then I will gonna, when them, or the government, or the mom, or the dad, or the girlfriend, or the ex-girlfriend, or my wife, or kids, then I will do something. And guess what happens? We then give away the power, and then if they don't do it, we don't do it, and then we are kind of playing the game of doing less and less and less and less. And instead of like growing and expanding, the life becomes less and less and less, and we don't have any power to change anything, because we just are expecting and then demanding from other people. And guess what happens if they don't do it? We just then get upset and offended. Okay, and now from that place, nothing is happening. Okay, but instead we want to go to be here, and this is, I will, and then you fill the gaps. If they, even if they don't. Okay, because at the end of the day, it's about who you become rather than what you demand. And so if you are demanding growth from others, you also must grow. And so now the question is like, who you will be, or what you will do, regardless of what other people will do or not do. And so here, these are the six human needs. And so usually when the life dissatisfaction or something happens in relationships, is because some of these needs are not met. So let me see. Here you can see it very well. And then the first three I have Martin yellow, because these are the foundation. And then the other three I have left in gray. So these were going to be an optional, that people think that they can leave it as an option, because you see, I will explain it in detail. So first, yeah, is certainty. And so many people were going to be driven by different needs, but needs is what we are born with, and the beliefs is what we come up during our lifetime. Okay, and so some of us were gonna value certainty more, and some were gonna value uncertainty. And then you're gonna ask, like, how does it work together, certainty and uncertainty? Because certainty is, for example, you want to know that you're gonna have place where to stay and where to live, and you're gonna have food to eat. Yeah, yes or no? And so for someone, again, they will value more maybe the excitement, maybe the unknown, maybe the road trip, and maybe that holiday where they're going somewhere. Okay, so now all of a sudden, for someone is the variety, and for someone is the certainty. And if, for example, I am that person who needs a certainty, and I'm just killing myself at work to provide, to have the bills paid, and that's very important. And then my partner, for example, if their primary need is variety and excitement, then the question is, how much excitement am I bringing in this relationship? And I'm not talking about money, because I'm talking about maybe taking out for like a camping trip. I'm talking about like going for a hike, doing something unexpected. All of a sudden, let's leave the job and let's go somewhere running, for example. Yeah. And then, so you see, different people have different needs, and of course, even if they like the variety, they still need certainty. They still need to know that they're going to have work, they're going to have food, they're going to have place to stay, because these are the basic human needs. And so then the third one is significance. And if you are someone who is driven by the significance, you maybe will going to have the chains and tattoos, you're going to maybe will be dressing up very interesting and stylish, because you are driven by this most important need to be significant. And so maybe you're going to like to always stand out from the crowd, but not everyone is the same. And when these three needs are met, then people make the move. And these are the foundational needs, because everyone wants to feel significant in their own way. And some people achieve that by knowledge, and that means maybe they're going to play chess and read the books and do smart quotes. And someone will going to achieve the significance by being very crazy and silly and being very funny, and then everyone is laughing, and now he's in the center of attention. Okay, so whatever is yours, it is what we're going to be driving you, but that doesn't mean that it is the same for the other person. And so the fourth one is growth. You see, when we grow, we have more to give. And so the growth is where we have the fulfillment and satisfaction in life, because we can be certain and live in and work in the same factory for 20 years. Like I was doing some work with Sainsbury's, and I met some people who are just there like upset and angry about their work, but they do the work for 20 years. And guess what? It's not that the job is bad, but you see, the thing is, when they started, they maybe in 16, 18, whatever is the age, and they wanted to buy their first BMW. They were excited. They wanted, the work that they can do at night, and then at daytime they can go to study. They matched with the university. But now later on, maybe 10 years, 20 years later, now longer, this comfort is helping them to move forward, but they don't want uh, to grow, because that will gonna mean that they need to go into uncertainty, and that is kind of uncomfortable, and therefore they're not gonna grow, because they value the certainty a lot. But someone who likes the variety, they cannot stay in a job for 20 years, because they're gonna say, I'm gonna kill myself, I'm working here for 20 years already. And they may take the chance to maybe grow and take the manager's position, because they say, look, I want to change something else, or maybe they're gonna do a different job, and no longer they're going to be saying complaining. But it's not the job that is at fault, because if someone is working in a place for 20 years, that means the job is great. They take care of their people, because if it's bad, you would never going to work 20 years there, and that's period. And so now the uncertainty is what people may be scared of. And if they significance is not the primary driver, that means they are not going to drive for the significant position, maybe the manager or the director, and they were just going to be keeping themselves small, and we're not going to grow. But when you start growing, all of a sudden now you have something to look forward. Now you see that the future is brighter, and that you're going to be able to change your circumstances. So you see, this is an option. So people can work 20 years in the same work, and then still complain for the 20 years, and they can still continue this to the rest of their life without growing because they just don't want to go out from the comfort. And now the fifth one is love and connection. And so love may be scary, especially now. And so many people settle for connections. And that's why people don't get married. That's why people are just, oh, let's be friends and let's not establish this as a relationship. And so love, you may be hurt because, the true love actually hurts. And if it doesn't, then something is wrong, because for you to be loved, there is an opposite. So for white to be seen, you actually need to know where's black. So it's the contrast. So there's love and hate. So if someone is loving you, they may also hate you. And then the closer you come to each other, the more likely you'll step on each other's toes. But then what's the alternative? Is to stay apart, stay safe. And you see, again, that comes into comfort, and that comes into variety, where people changing the relationships. They're scared of love. Maybe it's too much, maybe it's too boring, and they need to change, and then they just go into connections. And all of a sudden that's something that people struggle a lot, and especially if they don't know what's driving them and what's driving the people around them. But think about the primary three. What is driving you? Okay. And then there's the last one is contribution. You cannot say, actually, it's, my screen is here, but it's contribution. Because look, when we are contributing, we're feeling now more alive, and when we are contributing, we feel like we have something to give. And so from that place, we have this fulfillment, because all the time that we have went through maybe a pain, maybe a struggle, it wasn't just for nothing, because it was a story that we're going to be healing someone else. And that means with our stories, with our struggles, we are actually contributing. And so you see that many people who achieve financial wealth, they do charity work, they donate, because the money by itself, it's not giving the fulfillment and satisfaction. But when actually you can do something for other people, and you see that their lives are transformed and changed, now you can pat yourself on the shoulder, say, yes, well done, I want to do more of it, because it then fulfills you. And so that means that these three is optional, that people don't choose, and these three is those that people are most driven. And if you're gonna have three of them combined in a single place, then the person will gonna make a move. There is a job opportunity that we're gonna give them excitement and the comfort, and then they're gonna have in an important position, they're gonna make a move. Okay. And that's also why some relationships break up, because you might bring that certainty, but you don't bring the significance, and you don't appreciate the other person, or you don't bring in the variety. And then other way around, maybe you don't feel appreciated, you don't feel that you're valued. So maybe your need is significant, and that means that that that's something, what you're demanding from the other person. So now that's your primary need. And so acknowledging that, and then working with this and communicating, is how you can actually then have a healthy balance, and then life fulfillment eventually. That's where we want to go. Okay. So I wanted to share this. Let me just click on this. Okay. So people suffer when they think about themselves, not about who they need to be. Yeah. So, well, the suffering is like, I'm missing something, things is not working for me, they did this to me, I should have this, I don't have this. So when the focus is only about myself, then we are suffering. But even if we are going through the exactly the same experience, and then we're going to say, well, this experience is teaching me something that later on I'm going to learn, and I'll be able to teach other people. Let's say I'm going through a bad weight, and I can say, look, um, maybe I gain bad weight, and now instead of thinking like, oh, I have to lose so much weight, oh, why is this happening to me, and why it's so hard for me to lose the weight, you can say, look, lose the weight so I can then share with other people how they can do it. and all of a sudden now your story becomes an encouragement to other people. And so it's not the perfect lives that encourages and inspires people, but actually the imperfect lives that is trying to make the difference. And that's also how I got inspired to do half Ironman, because one of the guys in the property meetings I attend, he is not in his best shape, and I was thinking, if he can do it, I can do it. And that's actually what gave me the biggest motivation and drive. And then, so here I wanted to do a workshop, not just having a conversation and chat, but actually have something in some practical steps and things that you can walk away with, and apply these transformations in your own life. Okay, so first I wanted to say this is true. Okay, this is a verse from Bible, and it says, "Therefore I tell you, whether you ask for in prayer, believe that you have already received it, and it will be yours." Okay, and so as you believe, this is how it's gonna be. And so the needs is something that we are born with, but the beliefs is what we have created by our experiences. And so here, this is the exercise. So imagine you have created the change in your life, okay, that you always wanted. So what does your life look like now? Just think about it. And so you say, if I ask you a question like it's difficult, it's hard all of a sudden. But you can have so an interesting thing in life is you can have everything, but the secret is you have to figure out what it will going to be that you want. And so it's hard to read the label of a bottle from inside. And sometimes it's needed that there's people around you and they can say, well, this is actually what you're good at. And this is where you're heading. But now, if you keep doing what you're doing, where you would going to be going? And so this exercise is working other way around. So first is, if you're going to do the change, and whatever is the change, maybe the change is get off of my financial struggles, and then let's say have a saving. So now you have the saving. How would your life look like? What would you do? How would you live? How would you organize your finances? Yeah. And then maybe that's stepping into these relationships that you've been scared of, even if there is possibility to be hurt. Okay. How would it look like? What would you do? And maybe that's applying for the job role that you are kind of putting aside. So what would your life look like? And so maybe that's being isolated without friends. And that's one of the reasons why I created this men's group, because I lacked driven men in my life around. And so I created this men's group so we can learn from each other, we can grow, and I can connect with like minded driven men. Okay. So, what would it be if this wouldn't be the issue anymore? What would you do? You know what's stopping you? The weight, the finances, the resources, the dissatisfaction at work, hate your boss, hate your job. If that no longer would be the case, what would you do? What would you do? And now maybe all of us know, maybe I'm going to be joining more social events. Maybe I was going to be running my own community. Maybe I would be, I don't know, helping someone. Maybe I was going to be working on some passion projects, doing something creative, maybe painting, music, art, maybe starting my own startup and business or whatever. Maybe it's jumping into these relationships, maybe traveling more, whatever it is. I want you to work backwards, because now when you know that goal, you know it clearly, because that's the take home message, is like identify where you want to be. And so and then believe it as it is already there and work backwards, because then all of a sudden, if I'm going to ask what the person did to get there, you would then be able to answer it. Okay, so it's simple. Just ask the question, when do you want, just answer the question, sorry, when you want to have the change. You want to have it in 1 year or 2 years or 3 years or 5 or 10 years. See, you have to take a note. The amount of time that you're going to give to it, it will be exactly the time it takes. And so I remember at school when we were giving this homework in summer. So they give you the work that you have to fulfill. And then the summer break, I'm from Latvia, so there was 3 months. It might be different now here in UK. And guess what? It didn't take me 3 months to complete it. It didn't take me 1 month to 2 months to complete it. It didn't even take me 1 week to complete it. It took me 2 or 1 evening just before I need to go back to school. So all that it takes is just 1 day, maybe 2 days. And whatever you are leaving for later, maybe 3 years or 2 years, it may not take 2 years or 3 years. Maybe all that is needed is just 1 week. Maybe it's 1 month, depending on what change you want and how big the change. But see, the thing is, the sooner you start, the sooner you get it. That's it. And the secret is start now, start sooner. Okay, let me just share the next one. Okay, so here I wanted to give an illustration. Is you have the life that you attract, not the life you desire. So we may be sitting and meditating and thinking about like this is what I want, and now come and save me. And like, you know, just feeling sorry about ourselves and thinking that the opportunities were gonna come your way. But that's not the truth. You see, you attract the life that you want. But for example, if you want to have active relationships, if you want to have a relationship with someone who is also running and being fit, and then you need to become fit, because that's more like it's more likely you're gonna meet the person in that environment. Number one. Number two, that's on what you catch isn't what you're gonna need to feed. If you catch a fish and a bread, then that saying is like you have to keep feeding with the bread. If you're gonna catch someone on the physical activities and exciting life and interesting life, then you have to live that exciting life, not just to pretend for a while. So you attract what you have. And so if you have the life that you have, even the life that you don't like is the result of what you have attracted. And so there is uncertain situations that happens, yes, but that doesn't mean you're going to stay there, because if you're going to change, the circumstances are going to change, the opportunities are going to come, you're going to grab them, you're going to execute, you're going to work on them. Okay, so just think about that, who you need to become, what do you really want, and who would be the person that would attract that result that you are desiring. And so I'm on purpose, I created these few images just for illustration, so you would imagine. So just think about this person, and so he's dreaming about the life, but he's not actually doing any steps. And for someone going out there doing being social, I mean, it can be draining. It may take time. He may feel tired in the morning, going out doing something. And so gardening is not necessarily you need to do gardening, but just being out and about and being around people. Okay, and maybe that's what you want, but then you have to be that friendly person. If you want more love, you need to become more loving. If you want more friends, you need to become more friendly. And that's the same, like if you want to learn to drive a bicycle, you need to ride a bicycle. Simple as that, not sitting and thinking. But if you're not going to believe it, you're not going to take the first step. So it all starts with the belief. It all starts with like knowing that this is what will going to happen, and then going for it and taking those steps. Yeah. Okay, so I'm gonna share this QR code later if you want to join this men's group and don't want to do it yourself, because sometimes the hardest thing is not that it's hard to do, but you just lack the accountability. And so when we surround yourself with other like-minded men who are also going and doing the same thing, then man, it's a 30% difference straight away. Yeah. So what's next? So I just don't want you to give all the information, say, okay, hey, bye, that's it. But here, look, we are doing this men's group every Thursday. Okay. Well, exception is Christmas and New Year. So on Christmas, this that's 25th of December is Thursday, and then the New Year. So there is on the 1st of January. So we're gonna have a break. So Christmas and New Year break, and nothing's happening. We're just chilling, relaxing. But we're gonna start the year strong because we're gonna start it with January challenge, 2026 challenge. We're gonna be 31 days in January, 20 minutes intense training before work. So that means we wake up early, we train 20 minutes, but it's at home or at work or in a gym, it doesn't really matter. And we drink 3 liters of water. Okay. So that we're going to be how we're going to start this year with strength and with some self discipline. Because, see, the thing is, when we change ourselves, then we can look for the change in others, and then we can inspire the change in others. And it always starts with us. And so it's easier to do it in community. So that's why I have created this community for men, and we're going to do it. We're going to be awesome, and we're going to be great, where we can encourage each other, and we're going to have this leadership board where we can see who has done it and when they have done it. And it's just like there's something magical when you are together with other driven men and not just doing it everything by yourself, because everyone knows how to get fit, move more, eat less. But why people don't do it? Because they lack accountability and they give themselves too much discounts, and myself as well. So I want you to be there for me, for my motivation, for my drive, and the same. I will going to be there for yours. So we're going to be doing it together. And if you're watching a replay, there will going to be a link in the description, so you can join that there. And so here, the next one, after, there are going to be a men's group power hour call. We do this Zoom call, like meetings where we discuss and break down different situations that men are facing, or maybe obstacles, or maybe any questions. That is paid community, but the social run is completely free. In London, we meet at the Blackfriars Tube Station. We meet at 7 p.m. We'll change the times a little bit because, remember, we're gonna start the early training before work. Therefore, we probably will need to go to sleep later, because the usual times is 8 p.m. Now we're gonna be doing from 7. And then social run, we meet, we go for social, we go out after to sit down, have some drinks, tea, coffee, kombucha, just have a chat and see where everyone is. And then again, the next week after, we're going to have the coaching call again, power hour, where we share the situations that we are facing, and then we share also the solutions, and we encourage and uplift each other so we can do it together. And then in another week, we're going to have another YouTube live, so you can write it down in your diaries. You can join straight away. Then you can drop things in the chat with live questions, live answers, and then we can see where everyone is. And then again, there's a power hour. So we basically do these group coaching calls every second week, because there's power in a group, because sometimes you listen to what other people are going through, and then you can learn from them, and you actually can then identify the situation and say, oh no, actually that's my problem as well. Because when you are one to one having these discussions, and then I'm going to say, what's your dream, where do you want to be, and you go, I don't really know, because sometimes it's hard actually to see it when you're in it. And that's why it's very important that you have someone next to you who can say, hey, what's about that, why you're doing it, where you heading with this, what's the intention behind it. Sorry, let me just have a little water. So there's all these exciting things happening. So you can join the social runs, you can join the live meetings that we're going to do every month throughout the 2026. There'll be a lot of things, and you can also join the coaching group, coaching calls on the community. We're going to be breaking down and going through real situations that's happening. Okay. So, but this is not for everyone. If you want to join the coaching group, like, there is a link. Because, see, the thing is, if you are waiting passively, is there something going to happen? I have to be honest, I cannot lie, nothing will going to happen, because the gym membership by itself doesn't guarantee you the results. But what you do with the gym membership is how much you get out of it. And if you don't see value in it, then there's no point even to be there, because you're just gonna spend your time and everyone else's time, and there will be no results. But what I want to do, because I am contributing here as well, I'm doing this for free, and so I want to see you grow. And then the more I see you moving forward and growing, then the more excitement and drive it gives to me as well. Because look, I'm also doing many things in my life, and I actually want to be around driven guys, the same like you, so we can live life together and we can build life together. And so the social run, this is how it looks like. We go, we stretch, we socialize, we go for drinks. So yeah, join that. That's completely free. Remember, write down the dates. These ones you can take a screenshot if you want. Just take a screenshot and then join it. We're going to be there. And then, so the question is, why did I started this? Like, why? Because see, I needed this myself. When I was going through hard times, I was like, to be honest, I just don't know how to handle it. I just don't know how to go through it. And if I would know how to do better, I would do better, but I didn't know. And I grew up without dad, and I didn't have the guidance and experience, and I wasn't really studying at school, so didn't really learn anything from teachers. And then at work, I wasn't really doing anything important. And then I was like, "Pff." And then I was all of a sudden, you know what? I need to learn. And then where I started to join these coaching groups and programs and learn and try to connect with other men, and connect with driven men, connect with men who want to grow and who are willing to invest in themselves. And I understand it's easy to invest every single evening in the bottle of wine or a few beers and just crisps, and I've been there myself. There's no judgment, but that will not going to make you more powerful. That will not going to make you stronger, and that will not going to help you to build the life and the relationships and the finances you want. That just makes us weaker. Okay, and it's easy to find guys with who to go out and take drugs and drink and cause trouble, but it is harder, way harder, to find guys with who to build life together, go through challenges and struggle, and actually talk about real life situations that we have went through openly, where we can actually share and encourage each other, rather than like you should, I should, but say, look, this is what I have done and this is what has worked in my life. And so here, what you can expect from that is you can expect to learn the strategies, have the access to this WhatsApp group where you can ask live questions and have chats. And then as long as you are there, you're going to have the access. And then there's these Zoom meetings that we do every second week, so it's two per month, questions and answers and group discussions. So that's all there. But so the thing is, if you miss it, what I do, I send a record, or I send a voice note, no voice note, but like a recording from that, so you can listen it as a podcast after, whenever you have a chance. And then this is how it looks like. We do online, we meet, we break down the situations, join from the phone, from a computer. But the best, I advise to have a separate time set aside, so you can be honest, because sometimes the environment and people around us affect how we shop. Yeah. And so here's the truth. Okay, there's no such thing as something for nothing. There's no such thing as something for nothing. So you have to be willing to do something to get something out of it. Okay, so real growth and success and fulfillment requires effort and commitment and action. If that's you, great, fantastic. If that's not you, I hope you gain something from here. But here's the opportunity for you to join this community. Last year was 15 pounds per month. Now it's 20 pounds per month. I encourage you strongly to join it. It's literally like having a few coffees, but you're not going to drink those coffees alone. You're going to drink those coffees with us, with other guys. And you see that it serves as a filter. There's guys who just come and complain, and they are not willing to do anything about it. But look, if you're willing to do something about it and serious about changing your life, improving your finances and the quality of your life, how satisfied you are with what you do, and maybe looking for the answers and guidance and improving your relationships, that's where you need to be. And you can always do it everything by yourself, but just because you can do everything by yourself, it doesn't mean that you have to do everything by yourself, because together is so much more fun. And people understand the value in gyms, and they happily go to the gyms or group sessions or anything, because there's value in being in community, because that boosts up the energy, that boosts up. And yes, there is cost to it, because it costs time, it costs energy to put all this together and to work and to work with people in the situations. And look, I have also my life. I have also my business. This is my free voluntary work that I do, and but there should be a filter because I'm not here willing to waste my time, and I don't want you to waste your time. I want to see you grow because I do believe when a man gets better, everyone wins. So see you guys in the next live. If you are here checking in online, if no, join the men's group. Let's join the challenge. Let's get connected. Join the social run. That's also for free for anyone. And then I'm going to put on the information in the description here. So if you're watching the replay, check the description. And I hope to see you live here in London. Cheers. Bye. Let me